Welcome to Good Vibes TV. I'm your host, Leslie Klein, here to help raise your vibration by interviewing thought leaders in our universe. So today's guest is Robert W. Jones. He is a 7-time #1 bestselling author. He's a radio show host, a speaker, and founder of the iNETrepreneur network. He's also the co-publisher and thought leader behind the Art of Connection 365 movement. He's also the publisher of the iNETrepreneur and Contemporary Woman magazines. Robert is considered one of the leading global master connectors of people and communities. He's heart-centered, relationship-minded, and technology-focused. Robert helps entrepreneurs get on stages, get into pages, and do engagements which help expand brand awareness, personal credibility, and worldwide influence through his Ultrapreneur concept. Welcome to the show, Robert W. Jones.
Leslie, thank you so much for having me here. I think the most impressive thing that you did is you pronounced everything perfectly. So I just wanted to say thank you for that you took the time to be able to pronounce those words. I mean, it's like the first step is pronouncing them. The second step is actually learning how to spell them. So, you got the first part right. And I just want to say thank you for that.
Thank you. Well, I practice a lot because iNETrepreneur is not an easy word to say. And I noticed that you love to kind of create new words. You've got author, entrepreneur, and so as our guests learn more about you, they'll see what I mean. So one of the words that we introduce here is Ultrapreneur. So what does Ultrapreneur mean?
Well, one of the sayings that I have, and as you get to know me, I say entrepreneurs spend far too much time on doing what they do and not enough time on who they are. And what I mean by this is we always develop our skill sets, concerning our business, but are we also, adding to our skill sets in other areas of our life, putting ourselves out there? That's like getting on stages, getting published in books, that's leaving a legacy, and then learning how to do engagements. And that's putting on events or, utilizing curriculum to kind of expand our knowledge base and our raving fans. And so the Ultrapreneur is those entrepreneurs who learn how to get on stages, into pages, and learn how to do those engages. Those are ones that are going to, accelerate their growth, their framework faster than entrepreneurs who don't.
Yes, that makes sense. But you came up with this word Ultrapreneur. Right? Your invention?
Well, no, I thought I came up with the word Ultrapreneur, and I went out and I purchased the word Ultrapreneur. I got it. And then all of a sudden I started doing more and more research, and I noticed that there was a couple of different people that were also using Ultrapreneur, but they were using Ultrapreneur in a different way. And so I said, you know what? There's abundance in the universe. Ultrapreneur came to me. I wanted to use it, and I wanted to use it to inspire others. And so you know what? Leslie, I grabbed it, I took it, and I said, I'm still going to make it work. I'm going to make it mine. And if they reach out to me or I get to reach out to them, I'm going to say, hey, let's all work together to expand this word, Ultrapreneur.
Yes, that's excellent. And that's part of what people love about you is that you love to connect people and connect communities, and you are so heart-centered. And that's one of the real things I really enjoy about you, that I've, because it's not like I know you very long. It's only been maybe a month or so that we've been, communicating. So I've really enjoyed getting to know you through the different things that you do, and we'll get into those. Robert, what are some of your past claims to fame?
It's really interesting, and no matter where I go and I talk on stage, and what I find it's really funny is it's always those odd things that people really gravitate towards. It's not that you're an international best-selling author. It's not that you have an entrepreneurial group that's in 20 countries. It's not that you have a couple of published magazines or, worked for some of the dominant corporations that have ever existed in technology. What everyone wants to know about is when I did pop-up ads, I said, at one time in my life, I called myself the most annoying man in the world, because when I worked for Intuit, I was a part of a team that was contracted to make pop-up ads for TurboTax. And so, people ask me, tell me that story. And I tell them about how us programmers and, accountants were all locked in a room trying to figure out how to make TurboTax. Another part of my life is when I was in the Marines. Claim to fame is the world record. Actually, the Marine Corps record for sit-ups was 117 sit-ups in 120 seconds. I managed 121 sit-ups in 120 seconds, and I set the Marine Corps record. Unfortunately, at that time, I didn't know it, and I wish I would have, because knowledge is everything, right? The world record was 126 sit-ups, and I was like 5 short. If I would have known that, Leslie, I would have gone after that record.
Wow.
And just one more claim to fame. I like to say that I was my dad's second at Warren Buffett's house when my dad and Warren Buffett used to play bridge together. So, some of us, we started a claim to fame early. I was still in the crib at Warren Buffett's house when I was very young.
And I hope some of his knowledge, I guess, rubbed off on you, right?
Well, I hope so. Let's just say I look at Warren Buffett probably different than my dad did back in the late 60s.
Yeah. And how do you look at him?
He's a rock star. In my book, he's a rock star. Berkshire Hathaway and all the businesses that he's been able to build, create, and help people with their money management skills and to champion that whole genre. I think that it's been an amazing ride for all of us. And he's been the leader of that.
Mm-hmm. Have you reached out to him since you've been an adult?
I asked my dad, I said, Dad, I'd love to reach out to him. Would you reach out to him? And my dad's like, no, I'm not going to reach out to him. And I'm like, okay, I'm his son. If my dad's not going to reach out to Warren Buffett at this point in life, I'm not going to reach out to Warren Buffett at this point of life. But one thing I do have, Leslie, is I have some pictures of Warren Buffett and my dad, and even myself, of when, Warren Buffett and my dad had that crew cut. I mean, that late 60s crew cut in Omaha, Nebraska. So it's really interesting to see what Warren Buffett used to look like.
Right. Very interesting. But you have this Art of Connection book series, or it's this whole series of 365 quotes. And tell us about the series. Tell me about what inspired you.
Yeah, I appreciate you allowing me to talk about this. I really do. And again, just thank you so much for allowing me to be on your show. Yeah, the Art of Connection book series really started as a simple thought that was sprouted from my son when he was 13 years old. We just got into COVID, and I left my offices at a place called Regis, and I had 3 employees at the time. And I was locked out. I had a radio show myself, and I couldn't get on my own radio show because they were doing the COVID cleanses at the time. The 4th time, there was a fire on top of the building, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a sign. This is a sign. You're not meant to be here anymore. And so I decided to move to a home office. My son comes across there, and he says, Dad, you old people got it all wrong. And I'm thinking like, okay, this is how it's going to be as I move into my home office. My son's going to come across and say things like that. But I entertained his thought. I said, well, what do you mean by that, Troy? And he says, well, Dad, when old people talk about, legacy, they always talk about stuff. And he's like, shouldn't they talk about knowledge? Because, they can always take your stuff, but they can't take your knowledge. And I remember at that time, I was like, how can I help all the business owners, entrepreneurs, and influencers at the time? And what I came out with was taking the knowledge of the quotes and thoughts that we utilized within our own entrepreneurial growth group called Network Together at the time. And so I had more than 365 pages worth of quotes and thoughts. And I thought, I'll put a book together. So I go to the publisher and I say, hey, her name was Becky Norwood. I have this great idea for a book. What do you think? And she's like, oh, that's great. So I put down the money. I go home and tell my wife, and I'm like, honey, I'm going to be a published author. We're going to use all my quotes and thoughts, and we're going to be able to utilize this book to inspire people. And I will never forget it. She looked at me and she said, you did what? And I said, yeah, I put $5,000 down to get this book published of all my quotes and thoughts, that came from all the networking over the last decade or so. And And I remember I remember when she said, "You did what?" My heart sank. It dropped to the floor, and I was like, "Oh my God." And she goes, "Who's going to buy a book like that?" And I was like, as my ego is on the floor, and I still love my wife. She goes, "No, no, no, no. Wait, I don't mean it like that." She's like, "Why don't you bring other members of your community into the book, and they can share their stories along with yours?" So I went back to the publisher and I said, "Becky, what about this as a thought?" And she said, "That's even better." And that's where the book got started. From that single thought of my son coming across and saying us old people have it all wrong, to where my lovely wife goes, "Who's going to buy a book like that?" And now it's a 3-time international best-selling book series, and now we're on our 4th book, and we're looking for authors now.
That's awesome. Now so the first book was about networking.
Yes, it was.
Tell me about the other ones after that.
So the first book was about networking, and I'll go back to the first one to kind of start with that. So it was all about networking, and I just believed that people were kind of imploding, and COVID was really taking away the world as we knew it at the time. And so 365 days of networking with all the different authors was really just words of encouragement to go put yourself out there, to keep growing your business, to find new ways and be innovative about your messaging, and accomplishing that mission of service. When we got to the second book, some things started coming out, and I started thinking like a lot of the messages of the entrepreneurs and business owners was somewhat inspirational. And I thought, what a great book. The second book became to be 365 days of the middle one there, inspirational quotes. And so we started working on that book, and it seemed like every book kind of begets its own feeling. And once we started getting into the inspirational aspects of the book, I started seeing that there was a pattern that this inspiration really applies itself to transformation. And the book behind me, this one right here, is our 3rd book in this series. And it went international bestseller in 111 different categories. I mean, it just was a book that really touched a lot of people. And this book here is 365 days of transformational quotes, which has led us to our 4th book, which will be coming out this December. It's really cool. So Leslie, we've gone from 365 days of networking quotes to 365 days of inspirational quotes. And it's just evolved. The 3rd book is 365 days of transformational quotes, to where we're at with the 4th book. And the 4th book is 365 days of gratitude. And I don't know how many authors and entrepreneurs have come up to me and said, that is the perfect book to have right now. All the things that I've learned, all of the challenging aspects of what I've had to go through, from family to business to thinking and writing and being seen in new and different ways. It has been even more than a transformation. It's a place that's really renewed who I am and what I do and how I look at the world. And I do have a place of gratitude. And so that's where the book came in, is the authors were really seeking out a place to share with others, to say, don't look at this as a curse, what's happened the last few years. Look at this as a place of just tremendous amounts of growth, which pushes all of us forward. And that's where the 4th book in the series came about, was let's have the 4th book be 365 days of gratitude. And thank you for that. And the website is 365daysofgratitudequotes.com. And it's one page. It's an author quote. It's their thought. It's a question to the reader to reflect on. It has your information on there. And these pages, you write the page, you submit it through a Google form, and we do the rest. And we'll market it. We'll put you out there. We even have a community and author classes that supplement this book as well. And currently the publishing price on that is $149. And Leslie, I'm proud to say that you're in the book as well.
Yes. I'm so grateful, especially that it's a gratitude book, because gratitude is one of the highest vibrations. that we can experience. And I'm all about good vibes, and gratitude is like one of those things, one of the ways that we can get into that good vibe zone. So it's perfect. And yes, you have these classes every week that talks about different aspects of authorship. But then you also have this concept of the um, authorpreneur, uh, you know, uh, the author that becomes an entrepreneur, and then the entrepreneur that becomes an author. So
Right.
can you expand on that? Because that's very interesting to me, and to make that distinction, because you really are an advocate of authorship in people,
Yeah,
especially entrepreneurs.
here's the thing, it's really hard to evolve an industry and get it going forward, especially when the industry is very, very satisfied and full with itself. And I'm not saying it's a bad or a good thing, but when you develop economies of scale within an industry, you tend to institutionalize a process, and you tend to want to keep that process going on because of efficiency. And in the publishing industry, with these really large publishing houses, they've had a history of helping create authors. And as times evolved, some of these authors have turned into authorpreneurs. Well, authorpreneurs, I mean, they really make, the vast amounts of their money by, writing the books, and they become entrepreneurs through selling, courses, T-shirts, products, movies, television shows, a lot of different things, with their books. But primarily, they got their foothold by working with a main large publishing company. And these publishing companies, work with entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurs write, and they give up a lot of rights of their own intellectual IP of the process. And here we have them, authorpreneurs writing books, making royalties. Well, that's great if your main mode of profit is through books and the writing of books, and doing that every 3 to 5 years, or every 2 to 4 years, or even 1 to 3 years. But for the rest of us who are entrepreneurs, we are not making our money or our livelihood of authorship. We actually, we're an accountant, or we're an attorney, or we're a life coach, or we're a healthcare practitioner, etc. We're actually making our money in a very different way than true authors. And with that said, entrepreneurs, or entrepreneur authors, as I call them, have a whole different set of requirements that they need to help them be the prophet of their profit. And so publishing is one of the ways to help them become a prophet of their profit, because it helps them, get the influence, credibility, and exposure they so desire in what they offer and what they do. But I also found that, for entrepreneurs, we always work on what we do, but not enough on who we are. That there's something cathartic about writing a chapter, a page, a piece of a book, or even their own book, which also propels them, and it allows them growth, not just from the standpoint of their business, but growth within themselves. And that's why I'm a champion of entrepreneurs who also become authors, because it helps them in a multitude of ways.
And the other part of the type of authorship that you give entrepreneurs the opportunity to do is the community. Because in these collaboration books, there's a community of people. So you're creating this community of people from all different walks of life. They get to meet each other at these trainings that you do. And then you also, every year, do you have the Art of Connection Summit?
We have 2 summits per year. We have one in the springtime, and we have the one that goes into the fall. And what these summits really are, it's like, so often we get educated, so often we go to classes, so often we want to market ourselves. But I've always been about, like, how often do we just all get to come together as a community and just celebrate? And that's really a lot of the Art of Connection summits, is just a way for us authors to come together who are part of the Art of Connection to just celebrate, entrepreneurship, authorship, connecting with each other, creating places of growth that we didn't have before. I mean, I'm an advocate of, think thoughts that you've never thought, feel ways that you haven't felt, go places that you haven't gone, and do things that you haven't done. And, the Art of Connection Summit kind of brings all those things together, because a lot of people haven't gone to a place of celebration, a place of gratitude, a place of inspiration, a place of education. And, speaking of good vibes and raising the vibration, that's what this event is about. So many of us, we've left these corporate environments, or we've left these jobs only to be confined to our own home office. I'm like, we trade the cubicle world, and then we come home to our home office and we end up in solitary confinement. Well, you know what? This celebration helps us get out of solitary confinement and connect again. And that's really a lot of what this book series is about. It's about saying, you know what? The first step in growth is really serving others. And once you serve in the place of gratitude, not only does the other person grow in their vibration, most importantly, you grow in your own vibration.
That's perfect. Well, it's time to take a short break. So when we come back, we're going to talk about a quote that you like to share, and we'll be right back after this. And welcome back to Good Vibes TV. My guest today is Robert W. Jones. He is the founder of iNETrepreneur Network. He is the publisher and thought leader for the book series called The Art of Connection. And Robert, there's a quote that you shared with me, and it's, you have to show up to glow up to blow up. So tell me what you mean by that. Expand, please.
Oh my gosh. That is like one of my favorite quotes. And yes, does it seem juvenile? Absolutely. But you know what? I one of the questions I always ask people around me is like, can we learn from our kids? Just raise your hands. Can we learn from our kids? And invariably, everyone in the room says, yes, we can. Well, this is kind of like one of those kid quotes where it's like, you have to show up to glow up, and then you'll blow up. And what I mean by that is no business, no person, no idea, no concept has ever become known as the world's best secret. And that world's best secret is the one that's in the shoebox in your closet at the house. I'm like, believe me, I know one thing. If no one knows what you do, they don't know to use you. And one of the things that you have to do is you got to show up. You got to let the world know that you are here in open arms with a big smile on your face, ready to do business. And people ask me about that. I'm like, as the CEO of your life and your business, as an entrepreneur or business owner, it all starts from you. So anyone who comes after you, a COO, a CMO, a district manager, an employee, a VA, they their foundation is based upon your show up. And if you show up there and you're answering the phones and you're going to the meetings and you're making the boom in the Zoom, you know what? People are going to remember that and they're going to respect that. But it starts with you. It starts with your voice. And too much of the time we abdicate our voice to others. But no, it's all about your voice. Now, here, the energy. So now I'm going to bring the vibration into it. I mean, when you show up, I mean, how do you show up? It's not that you're just there. And, Leslie and I, you and I have talked about this. Is it like, are you showing up like this? Are you showing up like this? Are you showing up like this? Ready to be a part of the community that you're in, not apart from the community. And I've always said the most memorable thing that you can offer is a vivacious smile and a voice that's ready to speak and serve. And that's why I say when you show up, it's all in how you look. And you and I both know we can be on Zoom and we turn off that camera. You know what happens when you turn off the camera? You are leaving everyone in the room to an imagination that gets closed. And what that means is everyone else in there, their vibration is raising, their memorability marker just has accelerated, but yours hasn't. Don't take yourself out of the viewing range. Be there and be the one that is remembered. So what happens when you show up and then you glow? You blow up, because then all of a sudden people are like, I got to know that guy, or he said something remarkable, or he always has that smiley face, or what is that energy? People are attracted to energy. At the end of the day, no matter what space that we're in, and it starts as babies, Leslie, when a baby is born, their whole being goes to the most active thing in any environment. So if they hear something drop, or they hear a mother's voice, or they hear a sound of a car go by, they're always immediately turning their face, their body language, to wherever that most active place is in any environment. You know what? And we as adults are the same way. We always must invariably turn our attention to the most, vibrational place in any environment. And I tell my speakers, I tell my trainers, I tell my members, when you enter a room full of apples, be the banana, because it's going to be the banana that's noticed.
That's right. Stand out, be different, be our authentic self. And I think those are some of the things that I've learned from you just in these last few weeks, going to the authorship literary what do you call the weekly trainings?
The author literary circles.
Author literary circles. I've learned so much. I mean, today we were talking about your background when you come on the Zoom. So this is like being the banana in a room full of apples,
Right.
making sure you have a background that maybe is part of your brand, putting on your not just your name, but what's contact information, or what a website or a way to contact you, so they know what business you're representing, and also putting some kind of logo or a book that you're in your field, in the box, in that Zoom box.
Right.
So every week I've learned something valuable. It may not always be new information, but it's just reminders. And
So you got me going. I'm ready to comment on it, because I love that you say that, because one of the things I like to say, especially in Zoom, is like, what is in your snapshot? If someone was to take a snapshot of you right now, is your name there? Is your business there? Is a way to contact you there? Do you have product placement behind you? Because the way that we remember, many times, is associative memory. So I'm associating your face, your name, your organization, how to contact you, and even what you offer, all in one snapshot. And so if none of that's there, guess what? You just took how would I say, an expression of information and education away from the person who may want to utilize you and your services.
Right. So be totally available by providing all the information. Don't be the apple, be the banana.
My mom always said, don't be stingy with your information.
Very good. Now, since you brought your mother up, tell me about your mom and your grandma, because I know you're very proud of them.
I am. Here's the thing. my mom, my grandmother, they come from indigenous and Latino stock, on my mom's side of the family. And, for many years, they really didn't get the appreciation, not only because they were women, not only because they come from a Latino / indigenous people stock in the United States culture, you know, but they still did great things, and they did things of accomplishment, without reward. And especially my grandmother. My grandmother did two things that I would love to bring up for the show. As a American of Mexican descent, she worked for an organization, a boxing company, and at this boxing company, she was the world's first to engineer boxes in such a way where she would be able to create and craft unique custom-sized boxes for all the packaging that they would be sent on the railroads across the country. Now, that may not seem like a big deal, but railroads really didn't measure the transporting of goods and services necessarily based upon weight. They did it on space. And what she did was she was able to optimize the space that would be available to their company, on these trains where they would load the goods and services. And my grandfather worked for Santa Fe Railroad. And so through their conversations, my grandmother was able to engineer and save their clients, millions of dollars. Of course, she never got recognition for that, but she engineered that. The second thing she did is in Kansas City, Kansas at the time, they had 3 schools. They had schools for the white kids, schools for the black kids, and then schools for the brown kids. And she petitioned the Kansas Board of Education to get my mom into the white school so she could start her educational journey. And my God, did she do a great job on her educational journey. She became the first Latina woman in the entire nation to get a PhD in curriculum instruction in diversity and inclusion at the time, which was called multicultural non-sexist education. And so with those 2 women leading the way, I can't help but celebrate women. But one of the most lasting things that my mom gave me, she said, son, hijo, I want to tell you this. No matter what you do in life, being a man, or if you're a woman, if you were my daughter, I'd tell you the same thing. The secret to life is this. It's never been a woman thing, and it's never been a man thing. It's a person thing. And she said, the sooner that we all understand that, the sooner that we can all move forward with velocity. And I've always loved about that in my grandmother and my mom.
Wow. Very wise women and very trendsetters, I guess, really in at their time. I'm also, I don't know if you knew or not, I'm also Latina. My mother was from Puerto Rico and my father from Peru, but I was first generation in the United States. And yeah, so we have that connection too.
I love it. Oh, I love that. Thank you.
Yeah, so yeah, beautiful. Your mom and your grandmother sound like beautiful women, and really impactful. They help to create you, and look at all the good that you're doing in the world.
And it's so interesting sometimes, because sometimes history doesn't reveal itself in the moment. Sometimes history, it takes years and years of time to go by before we can actually see how beautiful that history once was. I assure you, like my dad, playing cards with Warren Buffett, or my grandmother petitioning the state board of, the state board of education in Kansas, or engineering those boxes. At the time, it wasn't that they were looking for glory or anything. They did it because it was out of necessity or need. And I think that that's one thing that we can learn from them, as entrepreneurs, business owners, etc. Is, the greatest space that we could all work towards is the space that where something hasn't been done before, but we see that there's a need or a necessity for us to go in there and fill it. And that's what I've learned from my family, is to always look for the space, of need and necessity. And if you can find both, you might have a clear, area to grow in, expand in, and help others in.
That's one of my favorite quotes, is necessity is the mother of invention.
Absolutely.
And we're in the age of Aquarius, when one of the qualities of Aquarians or Aquarius, the energy of Aquarius is innovation.
Mm.
And the United States, that's one of the values and qualities that we as a nation have, is that, finding how to improve, finding, where things need to be, the gaps that need to be filled, right? So.
And that's the other thing I always say about a nation like ours. It's all about growth. It's all about celebration. It's all about bringing people together. Doing it in a responsible way. But one of my favorite quotes, I put this in one of my books, and the quote goes like this. It says, embrace diversity, but let's all work towards unity. And it's not about the division. It's about the creation of what we all can do together. And so often I think we're finding ourselves, being, in lines that are at opposition of each other, when we actually should be standing in lines with each other, because I think that will go farther and further for all of us to succeed as a society.
Absolutely. And that's why you're the master connector.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate that.
So tell me, I always ask my guest, what do you do to raise your vibration?
Okay, that is such a great question. And I will tell you that. And I hear so many different ways that people, raise their vibration. And to me, I've done so many different things. I've used oils to raise vibration. I've used music to raise vibration. I've done gift giving to raise the vibration. Listening to loud music and dancing around the house. But for me, it really gets very, very simple. And one of the things that I've been fortunate enough is by being a networker and being around all these incredible healers that have been in my life, I've been able to get a natal chart done of my life. And so what is a natal chart? A natal chart is really a handbook. It's almost like a menu of instruction of who I am. And so it depends on like where I was born and what time I was born. And so there's guides of the universe that have developed me. And believe me, being a Marine, I mean, if it wasn't for networking and the people that I've met in my life, I would have been like, this is such a baloney. This is just junk. But what I found is when I read my natal chart, I thought, this really is who I am. I couldn't believe it. And one of the things that I found is I need to be near a body of water. And so for me, because of my natal chart, I found the best way for me to raise my vibration, if I'm feeling like I got the crud that just doesn't want to go, or I'm getting into a situation that I just don't want to be involved in, but character says I have to do it anyway, I go to the shower and I turn on the water and I just let it cleanse me and clean me. And by doing so, I get that refreshness and I get that vibration of going out there and being able to do anything. And so, and that's how I do it, Leslie. I don't have to, meditate for 30 days or 30 nights. I don't have to, tempt fate by jumping off a cliff and bungee jump. What it really is getting back to who I am and what my programming has been. And that programming really is being a part of nature in such a way where water refreshes me.
You must be a water sign.
I am.
What is your, when we're talking about natal charts, meaning your astrology chart, your birth chart?
Yes.
So what is your sign?
Well, I always like to tell people and throw them, I said, I'm a recovering horologist, like I'm a recovering programmer, and they laugh at me and they're like, oh, wait, what did you say, a horologist? I said, no, I'm just kidding you. I'm kidding you. I was a watchmaker. That's what.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
For is a horologist. They're like, no, I wasn't in the red light district. No, I'm. It's really pretty interesting because I'm the only non-animal sign in all the zodiac. I'm the scales.
Oh, I'm Libra. Oh, well, Libra is an air sign. That's interesting. But do you have water?
My rising sign is water.
Which sign?
I don't know. Okay. I just know in reading. See,
that's all right.
You only remember so much when you read it.
Yes.
But when I read my natal chart, what was memorable about it is that I had an appreciation and a desire by not being in the water necessarily, but being by that water and or the cleansing effect that water has on me.
Yes.
And
Well, I'm a
so,
Scorpio, and Scorpio, Cancer, and Pisces are the water signs. But I also have like your moon sign, that mine is in
yeah,
Pisces as well. So there's a lot of water, and I totally relate. I need to be around water, whether it's a hot tub, a shower, the
right.
beach. It's important in cleansing, and anyone, you don't have to have a water sign to use water to cleanse yourself in the shower, and to, a lot of psychics after they do readings, or healers will take a shower to use that water, and they visualize white light, and all the crud, like you said, all the negative energy, all the
Mhm.
stress, just release it, see it go down the drain, and you're born anew, really.
And and here's the other thing. I mean, I'm 58 years old now, and I turned 59 in October. And really, vibration is all relative as well. Einstein has a theory of relativity. Well, that theory of relativity also applies within us. If you look generationally speaking in my own life, my first 10 years, my second 10 years, my third 10 years, so it's like the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, the 50s. Each of those decades, I begin anew. My cellular, makeup every 7 years sheds itself into a new form. There is no atom in my body that is the same as it was 8 years ago. It's all brand new. I'm all recreated. And one of the things that I found as I've gone through all these decades in my life is, my definition, of vibration is much different now than my definition of vibration of when I was 20. I mean, my definition of vibration when I was 20 would probably be hooting and hollering and going out on the dance floor and thinking I have to make all the world's vibration. And now here I am sitting at 59 years old, ready to go into my sixth series of my decades. And now, the vibration has become just an internal vibration of self in the universe, totally and radically different than what my vibration outlook was when I was much younger.
That's so interesting because at the end of October I turned 60, so I'm 1 year ahead of you, entering that sixth decade, and I'm like, what? But it's all good.
It really is.
Well, Robert, we're going to take another break, but when we come back, we're going to find out how people can reach out to you and work with you. We'll be right back after this. And welcome back to Good Vibes TV. I've been speaking with Robert W. Jones, the founder of iNETrepreneur and the Art of Connection book series. So, Robert, what's the best way people can reach out to you if they want to be part of is the gratitude book closed already, or do you still have openings?
We have 80 pages left in the gratitude book.
Okay.
And we're kind of at the time where everyone starts grabbing their book pages. Just 4 weeks ago, we had 176 pages, and now we're down to 80. So at this rate, we will be done, everyone out there in Zoom land, StreamYard land, TV land, in probably the next 4 weeks. So if you would love to be a part of this book series, we want you in it. We want to share your voice to the world, and we also want to share your voice to the community that has been built, which is almost 900 strong now. And also invite you to our literary class, which Natalie and I do 9 months a year on Tuesdays, Pacific time from 9:30 to 10:30.
Okay, so I have your LinkedIn link, I guess,
Yeah,
on the
my
screen
LinkedIn
there.
link.
So people can reach you by going to LinkedIn.
Yeah. Connect with me on LinkedIn. I always say, social media comes in a lot of different love languages. My social media love language is definitely LinkedIn, so please get there. But also, you can certainly reach me at wow, you already look at you go. I mean, I love that. I was going to say that. You can also reach me at robert@networktogether.net. I know it's not iNETrepreneur Network, but I found I've kept my old company's email, robert@networktogether.net, because it's much easier to spell.
Right.
So robert@networktogether.net. You can also, do you have any other little things coming up there? Because I'm ready for you.
No, I will put in the description the actual link to get
Yeah,
to the Gratitude Quotes book. So if they
so,
want to grab one of those last chapters, if they happen to see this episode soon. But the other thing is, you will have future books.
yeah,
They'll be at
absolutely.
number 5, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to make everyone know that if you go to the website and you get a book, just put Leslie, Lesley. I want you to do that because that, sharing is caring. And, Leslie will know that you became a part of the book because of her efforts. And I just want to say thank you so much for that, Leslie.
Is that the right website? The 365
And that's the right website,
Gratitude?
365daysofgratitudequotes.com. You can go there, learn a little bit more about the book. There's some FAQs, and there's a place where you can secure your page. But under the coupon code, because right now we have the page on sale for $397 off the regular price of $500 per page. But if you put the coupon code, just Leslie, Lesley in there, it'll take another $248 off just by you. There we go. Knowing Leslie. So, please utilize that coupon code, and, let Leslie know sharing is caring. And lastly, I know it's only a couple of days off. We have the Art of Connection Summit coming up. We have over 200 authors, speakers, entrepreneurs, business owners, influencers, interested parties, friends, families, maybe even pets, coming out to our Art of Connection Summit coming up on September 21st. We'd love to see you there. Get some more information by going to that website. Thank you so much, Leslie.
Oh, you're welcome. And the Artist Summit, the Art of Connection Summit happens every year, usually in the fall and the spring.
Mhm.
So because this show will be evergreen, so no matter when they watch, they could go to this website and they'll find when the next
That's
one's
right.
coming up.
Yep, artofconnectionsummit.com.
Beautiful. All right, Robert. Well, do you have any last thoughts for us before we go?
Definitely. One thought is just my thought of gratefulness is, you sharing your place in this time to have me on here. I'm very grateful for that. There's so many choices, there's so many things to do, places to go, people to meet, and it has expanded so much with this modern age. And you chose to have me here today, and I'm grateful for that. And my last thought for everyone who's watching this show is, don't let the moment slip away. Start looking at your moments and saying, am I making the best out of each and every moment? And if not, why not? And if not, find someone, find something to help you raise your vibration. And I guarantee you, each and every moment that comes in the future into the present is going to be more precious and valuable for you.
Thank you, Robert. And thank you for being on the show. It's been an honor to have you on Good Vibes TV.
Thank you.
And thank you, Good Vibes TV viewers, for watching. If you got something out of this episode, please like, share, and subscribe. Let all your friends know about Good Vibes TV. Remember to raise your vibe so you can thrive. Peace out, everyone.